Welcome to the Thrive Forever Fit Show. I am your host, Jay Nixon. And today I've got a special episode for you. And I know I say that a lot, but I mean, holy shit, I think they're all special and hopefully you do too. Today's episode is titled Mindset Reboot. It's how to overcome fear with 2 simple steps. It's actually the day 1 training of my Mindset Revolution 2.0 that's actually going on in my free Facebook group called Wellness Lab Launchpad. Hopefully you're a Wellness Lab Launchpad member. If you're not, it's 100% a free group on Facebook. It's about disruption, transformation, and inspiration, giving you the tools, resources, and knowledge to help you get to that next level of life. What Mindset Revolution is it's a 3-day free masterclass, again, free masterclass to help you overcome the overwhelm. This is day 1 of that class. Hopefully you love it enough after listening to this episode that you get yourself over to the Wellness Lab Launchpad and you listen to day 2 and day 3. Those will be recorded calls as well. All you have to do is be a part of the Wellness Lab Launchpad and you're going to get full access. Today in this episode, I'm going to give you 2 tips that you can use immediately to help yourself overcome overwhelm and overcome fear. I promise you this will be one of the most revolutionary things that you've ever heard, especially if you attend the 3 days with me. All right, guys, saddle up, get ready. This is going to be an amazing episode. I know you're going to love it. What is going on, guys? Welcome to day 1 of Mindset Revolution 2.0, your masterclass for mindset, motivation, and momentum rejuvenation and up-leveling. The reason I wanted to do this class is because I know now more than ever that we all need a little reboot when it comes to our mindset. And so I am uber grateful that you're here. I know a lot of you guys are going to be listening on recording, either on the podcast, on the video here on the Wellness Lab Launchpad page. And so I just want you to know that I appreciate you and I want you to ask any questions that you have, and we will get those answered on Thursday during our live Q&A portion. So the mission, the purpose, and the reason we're doing this is so that you can get to that place in your life where happiness doesn't seem so far away. And I know that sounds a little bit crazy, but I put a post up today and it simply said this: the level of your life's happiness will be predicated on the quality of your mindset. And so all I want to do for the next 3 or 4 days with you guys is help you up level your mindset. I want you to think a little bit differently. I want you to put away some of those overwhelmed, chaotic feelings. I want you to really focus on you for the next 3 or 4 days. And I know that sounds like a lot to ask because your plate is full. You've got families, you've got jobs, you got all the things that are clogging up the system. But what we need to do in times like this is we need to get really uber focused, auditing our inputs and kind of going monosensory. And what I'm going to ask you to do for the next few days is to really focus on the quality of your thoughts. And today I'm going to give you 2 simple strategies. What I don't want to do is overwhelm you more. And so how we're going to approach the next 3 days of this masterclass and then the Q&A on the 4th day is we're going to give you bite-sized nuggets that you can digest and then implement immediately. And that's really what I want you to do. I want you to take everything I say today, which is going to be 2 simple tips, and I want you to begin to implement it immediately. As soon as the call's over, I want you to process, and then I want you to proceed by utilizing the techniques. And then tomorrow's no different. I want you to stack upon today and then use tomorrow's techniques to advance that level of your mindset. See, the purpose of doing this is really simple. I want you guys to have tools in your toolbox so that anytime adversity, anytime a challenge, anytime fear, however you want to label what life is presenting to you, I want you to have the ability to instantly have a tool in your toolbox that helps you overcome that chaotic feeling, that helps you overcome that overwhelm. And here's how I know it works. I use these strategies on a daily basis. And I'm going to tell you a story today about how I've used one of the most simple things that I'm going to teach you just this last week and how it helped me get from a place of, oh man, this is big, to I got this in a very simple and a very short time frame. Now, for those of you guys that don't know me or don't know me very well, my name is Jay Nixon. I am a transformation human optimization coach. I've written 2 books. First one is called The Overweight Mind. If you haven't read this, I highly suggest doing this. Even if you don't need to lose weight, this book is a game changer for setting yourself up for just life success. But if you do need to lose weight, this will be your first step in getting into that process in a meaningful way that's actually going to produce you results. The second book I wrote is called The Purpose of Pain: How to Turn Tragedy into Triumph. This is all the strategies and the tips that I used early on in my journey to get me from a place of pain into living in a place of purpose. Both these books I feel like are fundamental in your journey to creating happiness. And notice how I use the word creating happiness. You have the ability to create your level of happiness in your life. But the only way you're going to be able to do that is if you learn how to manage and you learn how to use fear and use adversity and use challenges to make yourself better. See, I'm a firm believer that if you learn how to use fear, fear can actually focus you. If you learn how to use adversity, adversity can actually become your advantage. And I know that sounds overwhelming in and of itself right now, because for the last 2 years, it's been nothing but overwhelm, right? It's been nothing but chaos. It's been nothing but confusion. And so what I'm going to do for the next 3 days is I'm going to minimize that confusion for you. And here's the deal. You wouldn't be here. You wouldn't be listening in the recording. You wouldn't be present with me right now if you didn't want a different way. If you didn't want things to be different, you wouldn't be here right now. And so I'm grateful you're here. And listen, I'm here because I want things to be different. I'm going to continue by me training you guys for the next 3 or 4 days. It's going to fortify these tools and these resources inside of me. And so it's the consistency and commitment of the utilization of these tools that make them become second nature. And that's really what we want to get to, is we want to get to a place where when adversity strikes, when fear hits us, that we've got the ability to quickly make a decision on how we're going to use that to propel ourselves forward and not allow it to create negative momentum. So again, guys, you wouldn't be here if something wasn't missing and if you didn't want to change. And so my ask of you is this: allow that change to happen. Be open to it. A lot of the things I say might not land immediately, but if you're willing to be open enough to take these strategies and these tools and use them and try them, and just because it doesn't land the first time doesn't mean it's not right for you and doesn't mean it's not going to work. So if you'll make this promise to me and to yourself that you're going to be open for, let's just call it the next week. You're going to be open for the next week and you're going to use these tools and strategies to get to the next place you want to be in your life. Here's my goal and my purpose and my mission. I want people to understand that life is amazing, life is abundant, and life is meant to be lived and not simply just survived. And I know right now a lot of us are just surviving. We're just getting by. We're just getting the bare minimum. And sometimes we're not even certain we can take that next step. And so my goal as a transformation and human optimization coach is I want to ensure you and assure you that you do deserve to live a life of abundance. You do deserve to thrive in life. You don't deserve to be stuck. You don't deserve to be overwhelmed. You don't deserve to feel chaos. You don't deserve to feel fear on a consistent and daily basis. And there's strategies and tools that I know work because I use them myself. And so I want to give those to you so that you can start to see the world as I see it, or at least as you know it, you want it to look. Because here's the deal. We see the world as we are, not as it is. And so the way that your perspective of the world right now has a lot to do with the way that you're framing everything, the way you're framing fear, the way you're framing adversity, the way you're framing the current scenario and situation. So here's my promise. We're all in this together. And at the end of this course, at the end of this free training, you're going to be in a better place than you are today. Can't go wrong with that. And here's the deal. Here's why I do this, guys. For years, I've been thinking about how we're all consistently programmed into self-limiting beliefs. Like the way we think about ourselves, our limiting beliefs have been programmed. And what that means is that means that we believe that we need something outside of ourselves to change how we feel on the inside. Think about it. This goes all the way as deep as just the advertisements that you're being exposed to. It's a never-ending dependency on the consumption of something, on an external force to make you feel better. This belief, which reminds us of our separation from like our wholeness and our ability to self-create happiness, is incessantly ingrained in us through media, through television shows, through commercials, video games, websites, social media. Everything we're exposed to is telling you you need this to feel that. And I'm here today to tell you you don't need this to feel that. Everything you need is inside of you. Every ounce of what you can be and will be and deserve to be is already in you, and an outside force is not going to give you that. If anything, if you could stop and pause right now, I would be willing to bet, if you would objectively look at this, that you could really understand and realize that all of that external stuff, even down to social media, the TV shows we watch, the news programs, the radio, everything, is really causing you more anxiety than it is happiness. Wouldn't you agree with that? Most of the time when you spend a lot of time watching the news, do you usually leave happier? I bet you don't. Most of the time you spend on social media, do you usually leave in a more positive frame of mind? Not anymore. It's become a battleground. So what I want you guys to understand is that you've got resources inside of you already that you can use to not allow these things to program you into limiting beliefs, into exacerbation of fear, into being overwhelmed, and feeling chaotic. And it's a simple strategy, really. If you can suspend, this is what marketing and advertising does to us. And the reason I'm focused on this right now, and the reason I want you to understand me today, is because this is the reality of where we are. If you have a television in your home and you turn it on, you're being programmed to think and respond in a certain way. If you have social media, which you do or you wouldn't be here, and you're allowing yourself to get involved in or participating in the minutia, then you're being programmed to have a limiting belief or a fear-based mentality. And so really the marketing strategy is a simple strategy. If you can suspend people in the feeling of lack, fear, anger, opposition, prejudice, pain, sadness, anxiety, they will become dependent upon those outside forces. But if you think about it, those outside forces never take away those feelings of lack. They exacerbate them. So what I want you to see is that if you will start to think differently, and if you'll use the strategies that I'm going to give you over the course of the next 3 days, these things will no longer have power over you. When I see a commercial, I'm able to see through it. When I hear the news, I'm able to read through the nonsense. When I'm on social media, I'm able to chuckle at the chaos and the overwhelm because I don't allow myself to fall into the trap of this self-limiting programmed belief. And if you remain in the perpetual state of busyness and you're always preoccupied in survival emotions, you will never actually have the opportunity to believe in yourself. I want you to think about that for a second. Think about the last 2 years of your life. The busyness of your brain, not even the physicality of busyness, but even that too. And you're always preoccupied in survival emotions. It's basically for the last couple of years, guys, you've been living in fight or flight mode. You've been living with what's next. And what's next hasn't been a positive predictor for you. Your what's next has been, oh God, like it's probably going to be worse than the thing that came before. So you're preoccupied in this survival emotion. There's no possible way that you can create happiness while living in that perpetual state. But if it was possible, think about this for a second. This is why we're doing this masterclass. But if it was possible to undo or reverse that programming so that you had unlimited belief in yourself and in your life, would you want that? I know I do. I know I want it for you. I want you to want it for yourself. And here's a simple thing. So everybody's heard of meditation. When you meditate, you actually move into what's called alpha and theta brainwave state. Now, we're not going to talk about meditation today, so don't check out on me. But what if I could teach you how to create that state with your eyes open? When you're exposed to just normal realities and normal life? What if I could teach you how to train your brain to not go into that survival mode and to actually see things differently? What if I could help you reprogram yourself so that you felt a supernatural state rather than the unconscious state that we're experiencing on a daily basis? And if you really think about it, when I say the word an unconscious state, here's what's happening. You are unconsciously living in fear. You are unconsciously waiting for the next bad thing to happen. That's programming, right? That's all it is. So what if over the course of the next 3 days, we could deprogram and reprogram your brain to see things differently with simple strategies and techniques? That'd be pretty awesome. I mean, I think it'd be wildly awesome. And what if you started to use those techniques on a daily and consistent basis, and you no longer lived in that survival emotional state? That'd be pretty cool. So I'm going to ask you a couple questions. This is going to tell you a lot about where you are right now. What empowering new thoughts and beliefs are you programming in your mind currently? Many of you, you're like, God, I never even thought of that. I don't think I'm reprogramming or having any empowering new thoughts. See, here's the deal. Some of the negative behaviors and traits that you've been programmed into over the course of the last couple of years in this survival pattern have now become unconscious states for you that you have actually gravitated towards because it's consistent and it's a known reality. Like your new normal, your new default state is that of a survival emotion. And the last thing before we jump in is I want you to understand something really clearly. Growth is always accompanied with some kind of discomfort because you're actually leaving behind an old piece that no longer fits. And so through the extraction of that old piece and that old programming, there's going to be some discomfort. You see, adversity never shows up in a gorgeous gift wrap package. It always shows up with a little bit of adversity. And so what I need us to start to realize and for us to see is that we've got a beautiful opportunity in front of us with this adversity that we're experiencing to turn that into an advantage, to actually turn that into something that we can utilize to propel our lives forward in a more positive, powerful way. Now, if I could promise you that over the course of the next 3 days, would you be in? I'm hoping hands went up. I'm hoping everybody said, hell yeah, Jay, I'm in. So that's what we're going to do, guys. And today's training is going to be super simple. Today's training is going to be so digestible, so implementable that you're going to be able to get off of this call tonight, listen to the recording whenever you listen to it, and immediately utilize these techniques in order to make your life better tomorrow. If that's not actionable, if that's not disruptive into this survival mode that we're living in, I don't know what is. So I'm excited about it. So today we're going to talk about overcoming fear with two simple techniques. Here's the truth. Most of us have mastered disappointment and comfort zones instead of mastering change. Because what happens? Change is uncomfortable, like I just said. Change brings about this feeling of uncertainty. And oftentimes a human will settle on certainty, even if it's not what we want. Even if we don't want this thing, we at least know what it is. We at least know how it feels. Even if we don't like the way it feels, oftentimes we'll program ourselves to settle for that. Guys, it's why we settle for most things in life. It's why we settle for a physical body that's not what we want it to be. It's why we settle for a job that we really don't like, but we know what the paycheck is. We know how much money we're going to make at the end of 2 weeks, and so we keep that job. It's why we stay in relationships that aren't really fruitful and aren't really amazing and beautiful and abundant, but at least we know what it is. We know what the fight's going to be about. We know what it's going to feel like. And that uncertainty is what scares us. And so one of the things I'm going to help you get over is that fear of uncertainty. Because if you'll use these techniques, the uncertainty kind of fades away and you start to use your evolved brain. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to picture your brain, just cut down the middle. And this isn't factual. This is very simplistic. I want you to picture your brain in two halves, an evolved side and an elementary side. Now, obviously, just through those two words, you can see which side of the brain would be more beneficial for you to use, right? It's that evolved brain. But when fear is activated, guess what it does? It shuts down the evolved brain. It turns it off and it activates the elementary brain. And the elementary brain is very simplistic. This is the brain most of us have been functioning with and using to drive our decisions, to drive our outcomes for the last 2 years. And the elementary brain says things like this: well, what if this happens and this is never good? What if I lose money? What if I fail? What if I get judged? What if I get sick? What if this? What if this? What if this? And it's never a positive what if. And that's the elementary brain. And that's what the elementary brain is designed to do. It's actually a defense mechanism that's set up inside of us by God and the universe to keep us out of trouble. But we're not designed to live in that brain. It's also referred to as the caveman brain. So when you were a caveman, or your ancestors were a caveman, and you got chased by a saber-toothed tiger, you needed to be able to think very simplistically: saber-toothed tiger, run like hell, right? There's no need for analytical thought in that process. It's just get yourself out of that situation. But what's happening is we're living in that elementary level brain, and that's not ever going to produce us happiness. It's designed to get us out of trouble. It's designed to get us out of harm's way. But what's happening is we're living as if we're in harm's way every single day. And you can imagine what that does internally to your body, just not psychologically, but physically. Many of you aren't feeling physically well right now. And a lot of that is predicated on the quality of your mindset. Your brain is in this chaos mode, which is eliciting all kinds of, this isn't a health and fitness class, but it's eliciting all kinds of hormonal changes: adrenaline, norepinephrine, epinephrine, dopamine, serotonin. Your body is going bananas in the most radical chemistry experiment that anybody has ever seen because of what's happening in your elementary brain. So what we've got to do is we've got to shut that elementary brain off and begin to use our evolved brain, which actually gives us the ability to have rational and productive and powerful and positive thoughts. Now, I've taught this before. I call it 6x6 creates the fix, and it's a simple technique. But I'm going to tell you a story of how I've used this technique in the last 7 days. So here's what it is. And it works every single time, anytime worry, doubt, anxiety, and stress are presented to you. All you do is you take 6 deep breaths in through your nose as slowly as you can, and then you exhale them in the same controlled fashion as if you were breathing through a small tube. 6x6 will empower you and allow you to objectively observe the situation while setting your intentions on what the desired outcome is. You will be in control. So here's what happened to me. Last weekend, or last Sunday, I got to speak at one of my first live events for 2 years. I've spoken on stages in front of thousands of people. This was the first time I was going to speak in over 2 years. I didn't know what the crowd was going to be like. I didn't know the size of the crowd. I didn't know anything. So I walk in about 30 minutes before my set, and there's a lot of people. There's hundreds of people in there. And anxiety hit me like a baseball bat. My breath got a little bit shorter. I started to feel a little bit of tingling, that little butterflies you feel in your stomach before you go play the big game or have that big audition or the interview or whatever it is. And I thought to myself, I'm like, okay, man, this is the universe. This is God giving you the opportunity to show that you're not full of shit. You're about to use all of your strategies, techniques, and tips that you teach people on yourself. And that's exactly what I did. Lori was with me. I got all my gear and everything. I'm ready to go. I'm pumped up. She's like, you know what you're going to say? And I'm like, I'm going to say a lot, but I don't know what's going to come out of my mouth. But I got that anxiety feeling. I got that overwhelmed feeling. I was allowing the situation to be bigger than who I was. And so I simply did this. I put my earpods in. I listened to a little bit of motivational, inspirational music that I always loved. It gets me kind of pumped up. And then I did my 6x6 breath. I took 6 deep breaths in through my nose, blew them out very slowly and very controlled. And every time I did that, every time I took a breath and every time I blew it out, I simply said this phrase: you were born for this. You were born for this. You were born for this. And my blood pressure, heart rate, anxiety, depression went from here to here. Took my earpods out, and I just simply said, like, this is what I'm supposed to do. I'm here for a reason, and I'm going to give this amazing group of humans the best version of Jay Nixon that they could possibly want. And it was amazing how just that simplicity of a technique brought me from a state of anxiety to a state of 100% focused and control. And I've done that 1,000 times, guys. I do it before calls like this. I do it before meetings. I do it before anything and everything that gets me feeling that sense of overwhelm. And so what I want you to do is I want you to start utilizing this in every scenario and every situation that you step into over the course of the next week. And then I want it to become so normal for you that when your brain registers conflict, when your brain registers anxiety, when your brain registers challenge, fear, whatever it is, that you simply say, I was born for this. And you take those 6 deep breaths in, and you let those 6 deep breaths out, and you get yourself centered. Now listen, if you take those 6 deep breaths in and 6 deep breaths out and it doesn't work immediately, pause, reset, and do it again. See, what it does is it actually physically changes your brain chemistry. It actually deactivates the elementary brain and activates the evolved brain. So you can actually see things as they are instead of worse than they are. So that's what happened. When I walked in, my elementary brain kicked in. Saber-toothed tiger is all of those people that I'm about to have to get on stage and speak in front of. And I haven't spoken in front of a stage like that in over 2 years. So my elementary brain kicked in and it was fight or flight mode. Like, maybe I should just run. Well, the truth of the matter is I couldn't run. And so I had to have a technique. I had to have a strategy to get myself back into that evolved brain that says, I'm born for this. You see the difference? Holy shit, there's a lot of people in here. I'm overwhelmed. I'm born for this. With a simple strategy. And I know a lot of you are thinking, Jay, that cannot possibly work. Here's what I'm going to ask you to do. Try it. What do you have to lose? What do you have to lose? And try it on anything and everything. Try it before a conversation. Try it before your next work call. Try it before you go into Walmart. Try it before anything and everything. And I promise you, you will start to see a shift in the way that you're processing information. And things that you were perceiving as overwhelming and too big aren't that big at all. All right, deal? That's number one. Number two is what I call AIA. So it's awareness, intention, and action. So here's the deal. Most of the time, our awareness isn't in tune with the actual event that's going on because we're so pre-consumed with outside noises. We're so pre-consumed with outside conflict and outside inputs that have no bearing on the individual decision that we're about to make. It's like oftentimes when you get in an argument or a disagreement, it's rarely just that small snippet of conversation or miscommunication that created your exacerbation. It's all of the cumulative inputs that you've been absorbing all day that exacerbate your behaviors. And so if your awareness can get in tune and you can realize that, you'll be able to audit those inputs, actually see the awareness in the moment, and that will change your perception of the event. And it will also change your reaction to that event. And so here's the simplicity of this: using awareness, intention, and action to disrupt a negative fear pattern allows you to control your state and use adversity or fear or challenge or obstacle as a focuser, which will propel you forward, and you'll be able to use the obstacle as your advantage. AIA will change your life if you use it and make it part of your daily practice. It will actually help you create a momentum mindset, right? So if you guys have listened to any of my trainings at all in the past, you know that I believe, that I teach and I preach that momentum, and one of my coaches always says momentum is the magic multiplier, meaning once you get momentum moving in the right direction, it will magically multiply your success, your happiness, your abundance, all the things, the opportunities. But here's the caveat to that: momentum can go in the wrong direction as well. And so what we've got going on right now is we've got momentum headed in the wrong direction with all of the fear and anxiety and overwhelm and chaos. And so all we need to do is put the brakes on that by using an AIA system, the awareness, the intention, and then the action, so that we can actually use momentum to our advantage instead of our disadvantage. So the key to this awareness is that you must use it in a space of zero judgment or justifications for the way you're feeling. Your thoughts in that moment are most likely coming from your elementary brain. And remember, that brain is the brain of a caveman. And so if you viewed yourself as a caveman and you said, okay, these aren't my pure and intentional thoughts. These are thoughts based on fight or flight. These are thoughts based on my elementary brain. So what am I going to do? I'm going to use my 6x6 breathing technique, and I'm going to shift my brain from elementary to evolved, which is going to then allow me to have a new awareness about the scenario and the situation. And then your intention will be to move through the situation using it to create a desired outcome. See, oftentimes when we react, we don't think about the desired outcome. But if we reverse engineered the scenario and we said, what do I want out of this interaction? What do I want out of this information? What do I want out of this transaction? And if we reversed engineered that, we'd respond differently. So based on the intention of what you want, the intention to move forward toward a desired outcome, you have to ask yourself, what's one small action that I could take? And if I know the outcome, then it's easier for me to adjust and understand the action that's necessary to get that outcome. But if I don't start from an outcome perspective and I just react using my elementary brain, what's going to happen? More chaos, more overwhelm, more fear, more anxiety, more depression, more of all of those things, guys. So momentum and motivation are not without fear. They're just utilizing the fear to focus you. So if you can learn how to use fear as a focuser and tap into your awareness, then harness the power of the intention of what you want from the outcome, that's going to help you create the small actionable changes that you need to get yourself out of that elementary into the evolved and into a better decision. You will no longer be paralyzed and paused in your journey, and you're actually going to start to create. You guys notice how I keep using the word create. It's like I said in the beginning of the call, everything you need is internal. There's no external stimuli that's going to give you what you need to create the happiness in your life. You're going to have to make the decision. And you wouldn't be here if you weren't ready to make that decision. You wouldn't be here if you weren't ready to shift your level of thinking and start using the power that you have inside of you to create the life that you truly want to live. Most of us are living a life over the last 2 years that is not the one that we want to live. It's the life that we perceive that we're supposed to live based on what we've been told. And the last piece of today is this. I want you guys to understand there's two different forms of mindset. You can have a fear-based mindset, or you can have a freedom-based mindset. Pretty simplistic, right? You could even break these down into elementary, which is going to be your fear-based mindset. Evolved is going to be your freedom-based mindset. And so here's just a simple way to look at things. The fear-based mindset looks at a challenge as it must be avoided. The freedom evolved brain embraces the challenge because it uses the strategies and techniques that I taught you and understands that
Once I learn how to overcome that challenge, and really, guys, all a challenge is an unanswered question. And all an unanswered question is you haven't used the right resources. It's why you're here today. It's why you're going to be here for the next 3 days. You're going to have the opportunity to ask me any question that you want. That's going to open the door. It's going to answer questions that are challenges for you right now. We're going to solve those challenges by answering those questions. And that adversity that you're going through is now going to become an advantage for you. A fear-based or elementary mindset looks at obstacles as, I should probably just give up. It's not worth it. A freedom-based, evolved mindset looks at it as, listen, persistence and creation of momentum is going to help me move forward and not consistently be set back in the things that I want out of my life. Fear-based mindsets don't think the effort's worth it. A freedom-based mindset knows they have to push through the adversity. And this is what I want you guys to understand right now. We have to push through this adversity, but you don't have to do it alone. See, that's the beautiful thing right now is I think right now a lot of us feel isolated. A lot of us feel like, I don't even know what to do. But here's the promise. You don't have to do it on your own. Your team of people, your circle of success is necessary to get you to the place and space that you deserve to be in life. So here's my promise. Use the 2 things I told you today. Use the 6x6, use the AIA for the next 24 hours. We're going to meet right back here tomorrow night, same time, same place. If you're listening on recording, it's going to be available again. I'm going to give you some new strategies, new techniques, new tips. I'm going to help you create a toolbox full of tools that are utilizable at any adversity, any fear, any challenge, any overwhelm, anything that doesn't provide you the outcome that you're desiring. Here's what I want you to write down. I deserve to be happy. And in the deserving of that happiness, you have to understand that you can create that level of happiness regardless of what adversities you're facing right now. Here's my promise to you. If you will, I say this a lot. The quality of your life, guys, will be predicated on the quality of the questions you ask. And I don't believe that there's a bad quality question. And so if you're in adversity right now, if you're in challenge that seems overwhelming, if you've got chaos in your life that you're just unsure of how to get out of, you don't know how to create that next step of momentum. We're going to have a Q&A on Thursday. It's going to be at 10 o'clock in the morning Pacific Standard Time. I know a lot of you won't be able to attend that live, but all you're going to need to do is submit your questions. You can post them down below in the comments. You can send me a DM. You can send Marissa a DM. You can ask that question anywhere you want. It can be private. It can be public. I don't care. But here's my ask of you. Ask the questions that you need the answers to. If I don't have the answer, I've got an abundant level of resources that will have the answer. And I promise you, I'll get you the answer you need to overcome that adversity and to overcome that challenge. Stop thinking that you have to white knuckle this. Stop thinking that you have to get through this on your own. Stop thinking that you have to be tough enough to handle this. Guess what's going to get us all through this whole thing? Community, connection, communication. So here's what I want you to promise me, that you're going to communicate with me over the course of the next week. And we're going to get those questions that you need answers to answered so that the adversity becomes an advantage for you. Guys, I wanted to keep these short. I wanted to keep these tight because I want you to listen and maybe even listen again. And I want you to implement everything I've said tonight so that you can begin the process of reclaiming your happiness, of rewiring and reprogramming your brain to understand that everything you need is inside of you and that together we can create the world that we want to live in. So thank you so much for joining tonight. Thank you for attending the first day of Mindset Revolution 2.0. My promise is this. If you'll implement the things that I told you tonight, the simplicity of those, and you'll show up again tomorrow, and you'll allow me to speak into your life again and give you some new strategies and new tips, we're going to fill that toolbox up with more valuable resources than you've ever had before in your life. And you're going to be able to create any level of happiness that you desire. I appreciate you. I love you. And I'm going to see you here tomorrow night. Guys, have a beautiful night, and thank you so, so much for attending. Please, again, if you have any questions, feel free. I don't care if you're listening on recording. Feel free to ask them in the comments. Make sure you tag myself and or Marissa so that we can make sure we don't miss those. My promise is this: I do not want to miss a question. I want to get every question answered. We'll be answering those questions on Thursday, and we'll tag you in on your answer. Have a beautiful night, guys. You deserve it. See you tomorrow. Bye.